I'm going to pick up where I left off in a minute. I'm going to give brothers and sisters a time to check back in. I'm going to pick off where I left off in a minute. Give my brothers and sisters a time to check in. Okay. We have 1,000 people, so I guess most of you are in on this early first morning of the 4-day full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn fast. We're fasting for 4 days. Some of y'all can jump in and join us. Jump in and join us. No food, no sex, no carnal pleasures for the next 4 days until the night of July 4th, 11:07 p.m. is when the eclipse takes place. So we are on a 4-day fast for redemption, clarity, wisdom, vision, grace, protection, insight. So let me get back to this. If the NBA cares about black people, why don't they hire more black coaches? Why don't they put a black coach quota in place since you care so much? I mean, 90% of your players are black and have been black. So most of your proceeds are coming from the talent of black African people. Why not a 25% quota? Why not a 25% coaches quota for black folk? 25% of NBA coaches need to be black at all times. Since you care so much, why not a black coach quota for the NBA? I don't need no Black Lives Matter painted on a court. Empty symbols. We want substance. Empty symbols. We want substance. Empty symbols. We want substance. If the NBA cares about black life so much, let's talk about All-Star Weekend. Can we talk about the racism that is All-Star Weekend? Can we please talk about the racism that is All-Star Weekend? All-Star Weekend makes more money for the NBA than even the NBA playoffs does for a 3-day event. They make more money during All-Star Weekend than they make during the NBA playoffs. But let's talk about the NBA playoffs also. Let's talk about All-Star Weekend and the NBA playoffs. Let's talk about All-Star Weekend and the NBA playoffs. Since you care so much about black people, why is it that almost none of the All-Star Weekend or NBA Finals contracts go to black people? Let me say it again. Since they care so much about us, why is it that almost none of the contracts for the NBA Finals or for All-Star Weekend goes to black people? We don't get the contracts to sell the food. We don't even get licenses to do any vending. Black vendors are cut out of NBA weekend, All-Star Weekend, and the finals. We don't get contracts to provide transportation. We don't get contracts to print up the media. We don't get contracts to provide snacks. We don't get contracts to do the rental cars. We don't get contracts to do anything for NBA All-Star Weekend or the NBA Finals. If you care about black folks, what percentage of contracts for the NBA Finals are going to be given to black people? What percentage of the contracts for All-Star Weekend are going to be given to black people? We don't want no symbols. We want substance. We don't want no symbols. We want some substance. But guess what? They don't have to have that conversation because most of you are so politically unintelligent. Most of you are so politically unintelligent that you are satisfied that a multi-billion-dollar corporation that has made every penny of its money on the backs of black male athletes are going to put words on a court and words on the back of a jersey. Brothers and sisters, you have lost your mind. Brothers and sisters, you have lost your mind. And for those Negroes on ESPN, the Stephen A. Smiths of the world, and the Kendrick Perkins of the world, and other Negroes who keep saying that they believe by playing the NBA players will have a greater platform to get their message out. You Negroes are full of doo-doo. You Negroes are full of doo-doo. What you doing is trying to cape for the league in an undercover fashion by saying, if y'all come back and play ball, you'll be able to talk more about black injustice and racism. No, they won't. No, they won't. No, they won't, because the NBA will make sure that the post-game interviewers don't ask questions about racial injustice. You might get one question or two questions. You know this, Stephen A. Smith. You're a journalist. You know they control the conversation in the content and the context. They won't have a greater platform to talk about it because the NBA isn't going to let them talk about it only but so much because they don't want to turn off their white viewers. They don't want to isolate their white viewers. So stop lying, Stephen A. And Kendrick Perkins, my brother. You are a disappointment. I am not disrespecting you, brother, but the way in which you went at Kyrie and the way in which you went at all these players who said the league should not resume because we need to keep the focus on the protests and on the struggle and not distract with basketball on TV, brother. Even if you wanted to disagree, you didn't have to go as far as you went, brother. You about to take Stephen A. Smith's place. You keep it up, Kendrick, and you're going to take Stephen A. Smith's place. Okay? But I'm not trying to disrespect my brothers. I'm simply saying that we need to stay on code. Being in the public eye doesn't give you the right to turn against your people. Being a millionaire, being a retired athlete doesn't give you the right to turn against your people. And all you black NFL players and NBA players who now running around talking about Black Lives Matter, you're only doing it because white folks made it comfortable for you to do it because they dominated the protests. I'm not impressed by y'all. I'm going to say it again. All you black football players and basketball players who now running around talking about Black Lives Matter and you going to protest and you going to take a knee at the first game, I'm not impressed with you because when Colin Kaepernick did it, it wasn't popular and y'all didn't stand with him. But now white folks have made it popular because they have taken over the protest. Now you want to do it because white folks said it's acceptable. I'm not impressed by that, brother. Martin Luther King Jr. said, the good Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, you can best tell who a man really is, not by where he stands during times of convenience, but where he stands during a time of crisis. When Colin Kaepernick needed y'all, y'all wasn't there. Now white folks is wearing Black Lives Matter. Now white folks is taking knees. Now all of a sudden you want to take a knee because it's comfortable, because it won't cost you your job, because it won't cost you no salary. Now you want to do it? Nah, bro, y'all too late. Y'all should have did it when Colin Kaepernick asked y'all to stand. That brother took a stand when it wasn't popular. Y'all didn't ride with him. Now it's popular. Now y'all want to talk about it. Nah, bro. I lost all respect for most of y'all. I lost all respect for most of y'all. Now, Roger Goodell, you got some nerve. Roger Goodell, you got some nerve. Now you want to encourage teams to sign Colin Kaepernick because the Black Lives Matter movement has been made popular by white folks and you want to make sure you don't lose no money. Brothers and sisters, I need y'all to understand the reason why the NFL and the NBA and white corporate America and Ben and Jerry's and McDonald's and Pizza Hut, the reason everybody jumping on the movement is because white youth made it popular so they can sell it. White youth made it popular so they can sell it. White youth have made Black Lives Matter a corporate brand. And the NBA don't want to get left out. The NBA don't want to get left out. Ben and Jerry's ice cream don't want to get left out. They're not doing this because they care about us. They're not doing this because they care about us. They're doing this because they want to be able to exploit the movement for marketing purposes. This is about money and image. This ain't about no Black Lives Matter. And you Negroes think we making progress in America because the South Carolina legislature voted to remove the Confederate flag from the state flag. You Negroes think that since the South Carolina legislature voted to remove the Confederate flag from the state flag, that's progress. Because the Virginia legislature has voted to remove a statue of Robert E. Lee, that's progress. Because the city of Philadelphia is going to remove a statue of racist police commissioner Frank Rizzo from the front of City Hall, y'all think that means progress. Because another city is going to remove a statue of Franklin Delano Roosevelt because he had disrespectful comments to make about black people, that means progress. You Negroes are crazy. Symbols over substance. 400 years later, we've learned nothing. Symbols over substance. 400 years later, we've learned nothing. Symbols over substance. 400 years later, we've learned nothing. Symbols over substance. 400 years later, and we have learned nothing. NFL want to impress me. And now Roger Goodell is saying one of the NFL teams need to hire Colin Kaepernick. Roger Goodell, who destroyed this man's career in his prime along with the owners and everyone else, and people like Stephen A. Smith, okay, who spoke against Colin Kaepernick. Yes, Stephen A. Yes, Stephen A. I'll put you in that, bruh. I'll put you in that, bro. You should have kept your damn mouth shut. Even though there was other athletes, Jalen Rose, he cooned out. Deion Sanders cooned out. Charles Barkley cooned out. Shaquille O'Neal cooned out. A lot of them cooned out. But none of them were as committed and as unrelenting in their criticism of Colin Kaepernick as was Stephen A. Smith. So as far as I'm concerned, he's right next to Roger Goodell for what happened to our brother Colin Kaepernick. I'm just going to keep it real. I'm just going to keep it real. The reason Roger Goodell is trying to get an NFL team to hire Colin Kaepernick now, and I do want him to get his job back. He loves playing football. He should get his job back. But the reason Roger Goodell wants Colin Kaepernick he needs Colin Kaepernick to get hired. Roger Goodell needs Colin Kaepernick to get hired. And do you guys know why? Black Lives Matter is now popular because white folks made it popular. The NBA season will be going on at the beginning of the NFL season. The NBA will be competing with the NFL in the first couple weeks or months. The NBA has already said, we putting Black Lives Matter on the court. Roger Goodell is in the hot seat because if the NBA looks like it's more sympathetic to black folks who are politically uneducated than the NFL does, they're going to lose a lot of money and they're going to lose a lot of viewers. So Roger Goodell is going to make somebody hire Colin Kaepernick. Listen to me. I've never been wrong. I've never been wrong on a political prediction yet. I have never been wrong on a political prediction yet. Roger Goodell is going to make an NFL team hire. I have a podcast. It's called the Dr. Papa Podcast. $9.99 a month. You can sign up by going to my bio on Instagram. You can sign up by going to my bio on Facebook. You can sign up by going to my bio in Twitter. My podcast is not free. My intelligence, I had to pay for it. You have to pay for it. My podcast is not free. The value of my podcast, respectfully, is worth infinitely more than that garbage I'll be watching on YouTube. You want my wisdom? You have to pay for it. $9.99 a month. I will still do some Instagram lives. I will still do some Facebook lives. But the bulk of my political education is by way of my podcast. Sign up. The link is in the bio. You're not getting it for free. My knowledge is worth too much money. Okay? Okay? I am elite. I am not saying I'm the number one. I'm the most requested black scholar in the world. We can validate that. I'm not saying I'm the most intelligent scholar in the world, but I am saying I am amongst them. I'm not claiming the number one spot. I'm going to be humble this Leo season. I'm not claiming the number one spot. I'm going to be humble this Leo season, but I am definitely amongst top 5. Top 5 most intelligent, gifted thinkers of the African race, of the whole world, for that matter, of the whole world. But I don't care about the rest of the world. I care about us. Top 5 dead or alive. Top 5 dead or alive. Take it or leave it. Let me get back on point. Roger Goodell is going to make an NFL team hire Colin Kaepernick for marketing reasons. He cannot afford for Colin Kaepernick not to have a job when the NBA season resumes. Because if Colin Kaepernick doesn't have a job when the NBA season resumes and the NBA got Black Lives Matter stamped all over the court and NBA players have Black Power logos on the back of their jersey, the NFL is going to lose big time. This is not about Colin Kaepernick. This is not about police genocide. This is not about Black Lives Matter. This is not about black justice. This is about 2 multinational, multi-billion-dollar, white-dominated corporations whose employees are majority black. Their athletes, their employees are majority black, and they cannot afford to be looking like they don't support justice for black people, even though they don't. The NFL is competing against the NBA. The NFL is competing against the NBA, and they're using Black Lives Matter symbols to do it, because you Negroes don't know how to keep nothing sacred. Donate to the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy. Donate to the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy. I love and respect LeBron James. Very well-spoken athlete. Okay? But I'm going to be honest too, though. I'm going to be honest. As much as I love and respect LeBron James, he's much more outspoken than Kobe or Mike. I don't think he's as good of an athlete as either of them were, but he's definitely much more outspoken than both of them. Michael Jordan is an absolute coon. He is a king coon. LeBron is clearly the GOAT off the court. But I do want to say this. I was a little disappointed in LeBron's crusade, the rock the vote, whatever that vote movement is that LeBron is embarking upon with other professional athletes, in my humble opinion. And I'm not condemning, I'm constructively criticizing because I'm a LeBron fan. I want to be clear. I am not condemning, I am constructively criticizing because I am a LeBron James fan. But what I am saying is that I felt LeBron could have chose a much more meaningful crusade than voters' rights. We've already got enough organizations dealing with voters' rights. We got enough laws dealing with voting rights. The NAACP and the Urban League are totally dedicated to voting rights. That's all they do during campaign season. We didn't need LeBron James wasting his time with the whole voter suppression thing. We have enough organizations doing that. I'm just going to keep it a buck. I thought that was a cowardly move. I'm just going to keep it a buck. I feel that LeBron wanted to choose something that looks like it's radical, but would not upset the white power structure. No disrespect to you, LeBron. I love you, brother, but I thought that was a weak move. You could have put together something to fight against mass incarceration, criminal injustice, miseducation, access to wealth, reparations. You could have stayed with police genocide. You could have dealt with gentrification. But voter suppression, bruh, for you, nah, bruh, that was weak. I thought that was a real weak move, and I think you only did it. I'm just being respectful. You know me. I keep it real. I think you only did that because you didn't back the players who felt that the NBA should not resume. And because you're more concerned about getting another ring than you are about justice at this point, you threw together that voter suppression movement to kind of clean up your image to the black public to make it look like you're still fighting, even though you're going to still go back and play ball. Bruh, that voter suppression thing, no disrespect, Brian, is bullshit. You should have chose something that was more important to black folks. Who tapped